Well, hello, and welcome to Distance Learning for Our Saviors and First Lutheran, and this is for first years. So, what are we going to do today? Well, let's talk a little bit about how we're going to do this going forward first. So, I've talked to a lot of parents about how our hybrid stuff is going in the schools, and I decided that I didn't want to make this harder on you guys. So we're just going to watch the videos for right now. We aren't going to do any worksheets, and it's kind of all on your honor right now. I expect you to watch all the videos though, and the videos should be about 10 minutes, maybe 12 at most. And if you have a question, make sure you call me, make sure you email me, make sure you text me, do something, and I will talk to you one-on-one. Otherwise, we'll talk about this a little bit as a group. So we're still going to do this. It's going to be different, and it's not going to be anything like what I envisioned when we went hybrid. So, and I don't really want you guys to have extra work to have to do. I think an extra Zoom a week really is going to make things harder for you. So that's why I decided not to do it. So now I know that many of you aren't the best learners when it comes to online, and I'm sorry. But hopefully, if you really need to, you can talk to me one-on-one, and we can get you over that. This isn't meant to be something that is harder, okay? So if there's anything I can do, let me know, all right? So what are we going to talk about today? Judges. So this is the book of the Bible where the judges were the ones that were leading Israel. And so the Israelites were moving from slavery to nomads, and that means they were wandering around without a single place to call home. And then they went to a warlike group, and then finally they established the kingdom of Israel. This is right after Moses and his successor. So God sent these people we call judges to lead them. And for the most part, these were people of God that were handled for a specific crisis. Some would be there longer than others, but generally they were there just for one single thing. And unfortunately, not everybody at the time was listening to God, which is why God had to call forth people to lead them and guide them. But a judge isn't king. This is before Israel had kings. And I think it's hard for us to understand what a judge is. Because in our time, a judge hears court cases and settles disagreements with people. That's not what was going on here. In this case, it was somebody telling the people what God wants. And so we're going to read Judges chapter 6, verses 11 through 27. The angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah, and that belonged to Joash the Asbarite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it from the Midianites. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." "Pardon me, my lord," Gideon said, "but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all of his wonders our ancestor told us about when they did? Did none of the Lord bring us out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us to the hand of Midian." The Lord turned to him and said, "Go in strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you?" "Pardon me, my lord," Gideon replied. "How can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh. I am the least in my family." The Lord answered, "I will be with you. I will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive." Gideon replied, "If now I have found favor in your eyes, give me a sign that it's really you talking to me. Please do not go away until I come back and bring my offering and set it before you." The Lord said, "I will wait until you return." Gideon went outside, prepared a young goat, and from an ephah of flour he made bread without yeast. Pulling the meat in the basket and its broth in a pot, he brought them out and offer them under the oak. The angel of the Lord said to him, "Take the meat and unleavened bread and place it on this rock and pour out the broth." And Gideon did so. Then the angel of the Lord touched the meat and unleavened bread with the tip of his staff that was in his hand. Fire flared from the rock, consuming the meat and the bread, and the angel of the Lord disappeared. When Gideon realized it was an angel of the Lord, he exclaimed, "Alas, sovereign Lord, I have seen an angel of the Lord face to face." The Lord said to him, "Please do not be afraid. You are not going to die." So Gideon built an altar to the Lord and called it, "The Lord is Peace." To this day it stands in Ophrah and the Azzerites. And that same night Lord said to him, "Take the second bull from your father's herd, the one that's 7 years old, tear down your father's altar to Baal, and cut down the Asherah pole behind it. Build a proper kind of altar to the Lord your God atop of it in its height. Using the wood of the Asherah pole you cut down, offer the second bull as a burnt offering." And so Gideon took 10 of his servants, as the Lord said, but because he was afraid of his family and the townspeople, he did it at night rather than the daytime. So that's pretty long, but I think it's important for us to hear. So the key verse here is, "Then Gideon built an altar to the Lord and called it the Lord of Peace," which shows us the main importance of these judges, to guide the people to God. See, they weren't necessarily worshiping God right now. That's why his father had an altar to Baal, and I don't know if we'll get into who Baal is. Baal, the closest, if you've ever seen the show Stargate, Baal is pretty much what Baal is in Stargate. We might get into him in Kings, but at 10 minutes only, I doubt we will. But these are the fake gods that they used to worship. And Gideon sees this presence of God, and that's why he builds the altar. And here's my question for you. What would you do if you saw something so obvious like Gideon did? Now, I know that you can't respond, and so I'm going to leave that question for you for one-on-one or when we return. But I want to give this to you. I used to lead Bible studies all the time before coronavirus. And one of the things that one of the members used to ask is, well, it's not more ask, more like state. She really wanted God to strike her over the head with a lightning bolt, meaning that she wanted something obvious, something just like Gideon got here. And my reply was, because this has happened to me, I have gotten obvious signs from God. So I said, "So do you want to go to seminary?" That's where pastors go to school. Because that's pretty much what happens when God reveals something to you like that. So what we have here is Gideon has this encounter with God. And he's pretty much chosen by character alone, which is a very common theme here we'll see when we talk about David. And it's not because he's necessarily gifted at the task at hand. See, God calls the strangest people and then equips them. God equips the called, but God doesn't necessarily equip the ones that are. God doesn't necessarily call the ones that are equipped already. So we won't be able to get into much more, but I did want to mention that there were other judges, and not all of them were guys. Deborah was one of the judges, which means even back then, God did not show any partiality on who God called, and God chose that person just pretty much on the character alone, meaning they were to lead by their example of being who they were. So remember, we aren't doing worksheets, just watch the videos. If you have a question, contact me by mail, phone, or text, and I'll try to answer your question one-on-one. If not, when we resume in January, if we do, we'll talk about it in group. All right? See you then, or see you on Sunday.